invite is Team 20 from Yilan High School, and they're going to give the project name called When TikTok Starts, Parents' Efforts Are in Vain. I think it's a very interesting topic. Please welcome Team 20.
Have you ever heard of the phrase, 抖音一响，父母白养? It means when TikTok starts, parents' efforts are in vain. This is not just a joke about excessive TikTok use. It's a serious social issue.
Like what?
Negative impacts on students' attitude, selective brainwashing, and misinformation.
Not to mention how algorithms manipulate what users see.
Exactly. More user watches a certain type of video, the more TikTok pushes similar content, trapping them in an algorithmic cycle.
Well, that sounds concerning. But what are the real consequences?
Several issues arise. Mental health issues, cyberbullying and harassment, misinformation and fake news, influence on youth and vulnerable audiences, impact on productivity and focus, cultural homogenization. A major concern is how TikTok's algorithm shapes our thinking.
Since TikTok prioritizes engagement over accuracy, the risk of this effect becomes even more pronounced.
Are you saying that if young people use TikTok too much, they might stop seeing themselves as Chinese?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but that's exactly what our research will focus on.
Our study explores how TikTok shapes opinions on cross-strait relations and identity.
So we'll propose a research project to investigate it systematically.
Let's begin with background information. TikTok's algorithm determines what users see based on engagement, not accuracy. According to a study by Pablo Barbera et al. 2015, online political discussions tend to reinforce users' pre-existing beliefs rather than exposing them to diverse perspectives. Their research on 3.8 million Twitter users found that politically aligned individuals tend to interact with like-minded peers, deepening ideological divides.
This means that if TikTok users are repeatedly exposed to a certain type of political content, they are more likely to become entrenched in their viewpoint without critically questioning it.
So, when we consider TikTok's algorithm, which prioritizes engagements over accuracy, this effect becomes even more pronounced.
And if certain narratives are deliberately promoted through the algorithm, it could significantly impact users' political perceptions.
And they can also spread misinformation, like hoaxes about Russia and Ukraine war. This effect becomes even more pronounced.
If users don't fact-check and continue interacting with similar content, the algorithm reinforces their exposure to misinformation. In other words, they are trapped in the algorithmic echo chamber.
And TikTok users may develop and distorted perceptions, which is also seen in U.S. elections and Taiwan's sovereignty issues.
In addition to TikTok's algorithmic cycle, we should also consider China's broader information strategy. According to Taiwan's Ministry of Justice Investigation Bureau, China has long engaged in cognitive warfare. Under the PRC's National Intelligence Law, all organizations and citizens must assist national intelligence efforts.
This allows intelligence agencies to work with platforms like TikTok to control narratives.
For example, it's a fact that TikTok tends to suppress anti-CCP content while promoting pro-China messages, influencing public opinion toward being non-anti-China.
The algorithm subtly pushes certain opinions, influencing users' perspectives without them realizing it.
And this can
crisis.
If Taiwan loses its sense of identity, what will remain of our country?
So should we all delete TikTok?
Not necessarily, but we must be aware of how TikTok algorithms shape our thinking and how others recognize this issue.
So how to investigate this issue? Our study will use 3 methods: survey, user interviews, and test account.
But before looking into a problem, we need concrete data.
So far, all we've discussed are the risks, but how do we measure TikTok's real impact? Let's first take a look at existing data on national identity of Taiwanese. In 2024, a Financial Times report shows the percentage of young adults identifying as Taiwanese dropped from 86.3% in January to 72.5% in December. And in a general population survey conducted by NCCU Election Study Center during 1992 to 2024, we can see that over the last 4 years, the percentage of those identifying as Taiwanese fluctuated between 62 and 64%.
However, these studies mainly focus on adults or young adults. Our research aims to fill the gap by specifically examining Taiwanese high school students who frequently use TikTok.
Now let's move on.
So, we are targeting 2,200 of Taiwanese high school students aged 16 to 18, and we are asking questions like, how much time do you spend on TikTok on average per day? How long have you been using TikTok? How much has TikTok recommended China and Taiwan related content to you? How much China and Taiwan related content do you watch every day? Do you recognize yourself as Taiwanese or Chinese? Do you think the ROC should give up its sovereignty in Taiwan?
In this method, our goal is to see whether frequent TikTok users display different identity trends compared to the broader data from previous studies.
And before the concrete data, we conduct a preliminary test with classmates to refine the question. Vague terms like occasionally or frequently were replaced by numerical scales for better data accuracy.
Similarly, we just did, do you think the ROC should give up its sovereignty in Taiwan? 2, do you think the ROC should give up its sovereignty over Taiwan, Penghu, Kinmen, and Matsu to ensure clarity?
Second, we'll track TikTok users who frequently watch TikTok's China and Taiwan related content for a month and conduct follow-up interviews to analyze whether their opinions shift over time.
Last, we'll create a test TikTok account and analyze the algorithms make recommendations for a month, tracking the proportion and frequency of different content.
Our goal is to determine whether TikTok systematically pushes certain opinions and how effective the influence is.
While conducting this research, we must also raise awareness of China's cognitive warfare.
Media literacy is key. Instead of banning social media, we should teach people to critically evaluate what they see online.
Of course, this research project isn't free. Here's the budget plan. Public survey tools and printing, £1,200. Transportation and small incentives, £2,200. Prices for public survey, £1,800. Flyers for raising public awarenesses, £1,200. Excel and SPSS, £1,500. Separate mobile data plans, £1,000. Salaries for allowances for researchers, £6,000. Interview recording and transcription fees, £1,500. Data analysis and statistical software licensing fees, £1,700. Network and server space, £1,000. Ethical review and legal consultation fees, £600. Research reporting, editing, and publishing fees, £1,300. Promotion and seminar expenses, £1,700.
Our total estimated budget is £25,000. Funding will help us reach more participants and improve data accuracy. In conclusion, our research suggests TikTok's algorithm may influence non-Taiwanese perceptions of identity.
TikTok doesn't explicitly dictate beliefs, but subtly shapes them through content promotion.
And that's why understanding social media's influence is so important.
By staying aware, we can think critically, make informed choices, and protect Taiwan's future.
Thank you for listening.
So, is there any questions from our judges who would like to learn from this team about this project? Yes.
Thank you. Very impressive presentation and very good thinking. And you use survey and also research from your classmate as your data point. That's very nice. I wonder who inspired you or which of you started this idea?
Well, as TikTok first came out like 5 years ago in Taiwan, I knew that there's a lot of brain rot content in TikTok. And since then, I don't want to download TikTok because I want to become brain rot and being brainwashed by TikTok.
And some students in our class like to watch TikTok content, and we found that they use some Chinese terms, so that's why we conduct this survey to find out whether their identity is being shaped over time.
Thank you, very nice.
University goes first. Thank you so much. I feel like this is such an important issue, and you brought a lot of information to me that makes it a lot clearer. So first of all, thank you so much. What a great presentation. I do have a question. Do you have any sort of proof or like previous studies that show that your kind of campaign, this kind of promotion, has it been successful before in changing people's opinions? For example, when they're subjected to this kind of targeted messaging. Have you found in your research that this kind of campaign has been able to sort of influence people's opinions?
Well, the previous study mainly focused on general population and young adults, so we can't find that much of research into the young children and teenagers. So we kind of like the pioneer of this research.
Fantastic, fantastic. Being first is often, the road to something much bigger. Yeah, so fantastic. Thank you very much. I think my friend has a question.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, that was great. My question is, well, I have several questions. The first one is, so during the presentation, during one of the slides showed that there's a survey between 2020 to 2024. Only 62% to 64% of the Taiwanese identify as Taiwanese. What about the other ones? Didn't answer, or they identify as mainlanders, or?
Well, those identifying as Taiwanese, like they are fluctuated 64 and 62, but you see, still some of them are recognize themselves as both Taiwanese and Chinese, and the percentage is about 30%. Well, those identified as Chinese, or they not sure, don't have response, they only like 1 or 2%. It's not really that much.
Okay.
But you can see this.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I didn't see that. I didn't see the grid early. And then another question that I have is, because I'm not sure if you guys see the news that Meta or Facebook, Instagram, they're having so much trouble because of the same type of issue. Do you think that this can apply to them as well?
Yes. Well, while we're doing this research, we also hope to expand our research field to the other social medias like YouTube Shorts Instagram Reels, and Twitter, Facebook, like these. But due to our limited time and funding, we can only research it on TikTok.
Great. And another thing is, I want to mention that the grant was £250, and you guys only budgeted $25K, so that was pretty impressive. Good job.
Thank you for saving the university money.